Woman who lives in Richland. She recently found out that her parents' fertility doctor is actually her biological father. So this is the story. Basically, it was discovered by accident. The woman was curious about her ancestry, so she submitted her DNA to Ancestry.com, and what came back was that another man, Gerald Mortimer, was actually her biological father. He had also submitted his DNA to the agency, so they were able to match her. Well, Mortimer was her parents' fertility doctor at a clinic in Pocatello, Idaho in 1980, and it turns out he had used his own sperm during that artificial insemination, and her parents never knew about it. Well, the family has now filed for a $10 million lawsuit for negligence, fraud, battery, and emotional distress. Also breach of contract. But this is the crazy thing here.
Well, that's pretty crazy in and of itself.
Yes, it is.
Because they never knew, right?
They never knew.
But
this is the crazy thing. This happens way more than anyone probably realizes. I literally just finished listening to This American Life podcast this morning that highlights another story of a man who also learned his dad was not his biological father. In this case, it wasn't his doctor, but he talks about this practice and how it was a common practice decades ago. Take a listen.
You know, one of the standard things that happened back in 1949, 48, was that the doctor himself sometimes was the donor, or sometimes it could have been a medical student.
Lenny, both your parents have been dead for decades, but if what you're saying is right, you might have a living parent, like in New York right now.
So there you go. Back in the 40s, doctors would sometimes be the sperm donor if a woman had trouble getting pregnant with her husband. Now, I've linked this full podcast on my Facebook page, KHQ Nicole Mischke, if you want to listen to the whole thing. But look at this. My main point is that this Washington woman learning that her mother's doctor is actually her biological father is not the only story like this. Just a quick Google search pulled up several stories. This one, in March of 1992, People magazine published a story called Betrayal of Trust that talks about a couple who learned their fertility doctor was likely the biological father to as many as 75 children whose parents had come to him for artificial insemination treatment. And then this story from September of 2016. Court documents from Marion County, Indiana show the fertility doctor Donald Klein here used his own sperm around 50 times and also fathered children with women who thought that he was helping them get pregnant with their own husband's sperm. And then this story. In the Globe and Mail from April of last year, where these two women learned their half-sisters, both fathered by a former Ottawa doctor who not only used his own sperm without their parents' knowledge, he had previously been suspended from practice for just mixing up sperm in 3 different cases. So this is pretty scary, and it just makes me think like there are probably a lot more people than anyone even realizes, especially if this ever was a standard practice. If it was standard practice in the 40s for a doctor to mix up his sperm with the father's sperm.
Well, I mean, if the people knew about it, it's one thing.
Right, that's the thing. It seems like maybe
doing it
went
behind
from
their back.
Yes,
like,
maybe it went from a thing where they used to tell the parents, like, this is what we do.
World.
But
to
I had
now
a girlfriend
parents
of mine,
have no idea.
I had a girlfriend of mine in college who her parents told her that she was one of these such cases when she was 18 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I tell you what, there are a lot of things that I think bring on lawsuits that maybe are unjustified. This ain't one of them. That is messed up.
It just goes to,
if doctors are doing that behind people's backs.
Behind people's back is one thing. With their permission, totally a different
I mean, you're putting so much trust. Anybody that's seeking infertility treatment, you are putting so much trust when you go in for artificial insemination that you are getting the sperm donor that you thought you signed up for.
Absolutely.
You know?